Imagine a world that is constantly shifting. Side players are becoming center stage. And yet, you barely hear about Venezuela or Greenland making any headlines. But why is that? Let's unravel this. It's not just geography. It's strategy. Think Venezuela, home to oil reserves that can rival the Middle East. The government there, amidst political chaos. Yet there's a twist. A man in Caracas once told me they are sitting on a fortune, but cannot sell it. Think sanctions. Think global politics. Now switch gears. Welcome to Greenland. Greenland. The land of ice where mineral resources are hidden beneath, ostensibly forgotten, yet suddenly desired. Why? Climate change. Ice melts. Resources become accessible. We're seeing a pivot, a new map emerging. But let's just take a step back. What's the world trying to accomplish? Are we chasing oil in Venezuela or minerals in Greenland? Or something more elusive? These shifts mean more than just power. They redefine alliances and dependencies. We're on the brink of a new era, so stick with me as we unravel the mysteries of the new map. Let's dive into a fascinating intersection of geography and geopolitics. Remember those days when Venezuela was just your average oil-rich country? Well, surprise, it's now the anchor for a continent-wide power play. And Greenland? It's no longer just ice and polar bears, it's a chess piece. So why does that matter? For starters, Venezuela's vast oil reserves are attracting more than just profit seekers. We're talking international political jockeying, with China and Russia making moves. Imagine Raul, an everyday Venezuelan oil worker who's now entangled in this complex global chess game. And isn't it curious how Greenland, a seemingly distant and icy place, suddenly makes headlines? This vast island, rich in rare earth minerals, has become a significant player in the evolving global economy. You ever stop and think how these remote places became critical nodes in a complex geopolitical web? Maps are no longer just about geography. They're narratives of power struggles, strategic resources, and alliances. And here's a question for you. Is the world map static? Or is it shaping what comes next? Venezuela and Greenland hint that change is constant. They're redrawing the contours of influence. So it's not just about oil or ice. It's about how these elements rewrite power structures on a global scale. And just think, what's next on the map? Let's dive into the intriguing saga of Venezuela's resources and Greenland's strategic ice. Now, why exactly are these two locations in the spotlight? Well, it's all about what lies beneath. Venezuela holds the largest proven oil reserves in the world, surpassing even Saudi Arabia, yet its economy is in shambles. So is all that oil really flowing where it's supposed to? Corruption, mismanagement, and political turmoil paint a grim picture. On the flip side, let's talk about Greenland. Its ice cap holds 10% of the world's freshwater reserves, and rumors of vast mineral resources are drawing attention. But here's the twist. As ice melts, new geographies emerge, opening potential sea routes. Imagine shorter paths between Europe and Asia, rewriting trade strategies. Yet the question remains, who will control this new northern frontier? While political leaders, just imagine someone like Carlos, an engineer from Caracas, scoffs at misused potential. He grapples with the reality of a rich land with empty pockets. So why exactly are Greenland and Venezuela even in the same conversation? Their stories tie back to a pivot in global focus, from fossil fuel dependency to emerging geoeconomic landscapes. Could this shift rewrite the geopolitical map we know? Venezuela, a nation rich in oil and resources, yet struggling beneath a collapsing economy. Now, let's peel back the layers of its deceptively complex political and economic narrative to discover just how it became a pawn in the global chess game. Oil, that so-called black gold, could have been their saving grace, but instead, it seems to have dragged them down. Isn't it ironic? Now, picture Greenland, a land covered with ice and untouched reserves, silently waiting to emerge as a player in this map of geopolitics. It's curious, isn't it? How unclaimed and seemingly wasteland can suddenly be at the center thanks to melting ice, revealing untold riches. So, while Venezuela grapples with its economic paralysis, Greenland is quietly gearing up for an industrial thrust. And here's where the pivot lies, not in loud revolutions, but in the quiet shifts underneath the surface. Could it be that while everyone was focused on the chaos elsewhere, these silent workings are unfolding a new map? Let's dive deep, because this isn't just your average geopolitical shift. It's more like a massive tectonic upheaval, reshaping the world's economic landscapes and alliances. So, let's start with what's happening in Venezuela. We all know about the country's struggle with political instability and how its economy has taken a nosedive. But beneath all this chaos, there lies a motherlode of oil, potentially the largest in the world. So, you might wonder, why isn't Venezuela an oil superpower? Management, politics, and foreign sanctions have spun a web of complications. Meanwhile, up north, Greenland waits quietly. A massive chunk of ice, but underneath which lies rare earth minerals that China covets fiercely. A resource scramble ensues without much chatter. Now here's the kicker. As our two locations might appear disconnected, they intertwine with a global pivot happening. Countries realign around resources, while power dynamics shift. This strategic chess game is what savvy diplomats watch keenly right now. The key player, Maria, a young diplomat, navigates these waters, illustrating how complex all this truly is. As we dissect, the new map reveals not just land, but power strategy. All right, let's dive deep into the intricate interplay between Venezuela, Greenland, and the geopolitical shifts we're witnessing today. Traditionally, Venezuela was primarily seen as an economic powerhouse because of oil. But wait, here's a twist. The world is moving away from fossil fuels. So what happens then? Venezuela's relevance? It takes a hit. The nation has to pivot, perhaps explore new industries. Now consider Greenland, that massive icy expanse, not just a frozen wasteland. Could it be a place filled with potential? Absolutely. You see, green energy is the future, and Greenland is rich in critical minerals for that transition. Strange how things work out, right? Weirdly enough, a local fisherman from Nuuk could see the effects of warming firsthand, watching glaciers recede faster than ever before. So, while Venezuela deals with reduced oil needs, Greenland's significance is rising. The big question is, could Venezuela also pivot towards renewables? It won't be easy, but necessity drives change, doesn't it? Geopolitically, this creates an entirely new map where traditional powers and smaller regions have to rethink everything, reevaluate alliances, and forge new paths. So here's the thing. When you step back and take a look at a map, it's not just lines and colors, it's a web of strategic interests, tensions, and opportunities. Take Venezuela, for example. Why is everyone so obsessed with its oil reserves? Sure, it's got the largest reserves, but how's that working out? There's this crazy mismanagement and a choking hold of corruption. Yet somehow, countries keep lining up to get a piece of the action. It's like a never-ending power dance amidst the chaos. Then there's Greenland. Good old iceberg land sitting like a quiet giant. You wouldn't think anyone would want it, but wait for it. Underneath that ice, there's a treasure chest of rare earth minerals. Talk about plans for the future. You know, Greenland's ice is melting, and suddenly everyone sees an opportunity. The US tried buying it, kind of like a Monopoly game with real stakes. But here's the kicker. Everything hinges on who blinks first. And how does this connect with the pivot? Think strategically. Emerging powers are looking to lock in resources, secure access, and hedge their bets. A single misstep can flip the board, but who wins in this game? Why do countries bet so much on future uncertainties? That's the perennial question. Is it all worth it? That's something everyone needs to think about. Now here's where things really start to get interesting, because when we talk about maps and geopolitical strategy, we aren't just talking about lines on a paper. We're talking about power dynamics, money flow, and yes, a kind of invisible chess game that affects real lives. Take Venezuela. Here's a country rich in natural resources, yet financially struggling and politically volatile. How could that be? Well, it's not just about the government mismanagement, which of course is a part of it. It's also about external pressures and sanctions, like chess pieces blocking the potential for growth. And why is Greenland suddenly in the spotlight? Most would assume it's just a cold place, isolated and unimportant. But dig deeper, and you'll see an incredibly strategic location for Arctic routes, natural resources, and military advantages. Consider Karen, a geologist exploring Greenland, who finds more to the icy expanses than meets the eye. And what about the pivot? Well, that's where the global chess game makes its next move. And here's the kicker. Are we even ready for these changes? So here's the thing about Venezuela and Greenland. They're these two places that seem worlds apart, but they're deeply connected in this new world map. What are we really looking at, you might ask? Well, it's a classic tale of resources and power. Venezuela is sitting on one of the largest oil reserves in the world, but why doesn't it dominate the oil market? Instead, its economy is in shambles. Why? Because power politics and mismanagement play a crucial role. Meanwhile, far north up there, Greenland seems like just frozen ice, right? But underneath that ice lies untapped wealth in rare earth minerals. These are crucial for our tech-driven world. And who would you guess is eyeing Greenland? The big players, of course. Now, imagine being Pedro, a young Venezuelan, grown up when oil was supposed to bring prosperity, but instead he's challenged by a crumbling economy. With these cases of Venezuela and Greenland, dots are connected. The pivot in the global map is not just politics. It's about how the new resources we rush to harness shape this story. So, the next time you glance at that world map and see Greenland and Venezuela, you might just wonder, what other secrets are hidden right beneath our eyes? Let's talk about maps, but not the dusty, outdated versions we're used to. I'm talking about the swirling colors and shifting lines of the new geopolitical reality. It turns out, Venezuela and Greenland are not just forgotten landmarks, but they are game changers on this map. First up, Venezuela. It's not just the talk of oil, which we all kind of know about. But consider this, a nation sitting on the world's largest oil reserve. And yet, why is it in such turmoil? Could it be that external fingers in the pie create chaos? Or perhaps internal struggles? Take Juan, a local teacher, who's had to double as a mechanic to make ends meet. His country, once prosperous, now barely scraping by. And we shift to Greenland. Does anyone even talk about it? It's an icy expanse, but guess what? That ice is melting, revealing minerals and untapped resources. So here it is in the center of a new pivot, a geological treasure map. And suddenly, the silence around Greenland is a deafening one. Why the sudden interest? Could the pursuit of untapped wealth be clouding better judgment? These lands, Venezuela and Greenland, are not on the periphery anymore. They sit squarely in the crosshairs of this new global map. Now let's really dive into what all this means. We're looking at two very different places, Venezuela and Greenland, and yet they're strangely, inexorably linked. Because here's the thing. On the face of it, Venezuela is drenched in oil and politics, and Greenland seems like a giant frozen island only good for ice. But wait a minute. Things are not as black and white as they seem. Because suddenly it's all about potential and future. You see, Venezuela, with its colossal oil reserves, has been courted by the superpowers like a popular prom date. Meanwhile, Greenland's untouched potential mineral wealth and strategic location have piqued interest. Who could have imagined they'd both be in the global chess game? Now let's introduce Enoch, a Greenlander who wonders if all this attention means more opportunities. But hold on. With all this analysis, are we aware of what could be lost? What happens when these cultures and environments are compromised? In our next section, we'll explore the consequences. But more importantly, who stands to gain? So here we are, at the end of our journey, exploring the new map of international politics. We've uncovered how Venezuela's untapped resources and unpredictable political landscape leave it tethered to the whims of global giants. And then Greenland, our ice-covered enigma, which surprisingly holds its own weight in this geopolitical puzzle. In our exploration, we met Maria, a single mother in Venezuela, who struggles with regular blackouts yet holds on to hope for a more stable life. It's these personal stories against the grand stage of global strategy that remind us economics is not just numbers and graphs, it's the living conditions of real people. Our adventure doesn't truly conclude because as we speak, new chapters unfold and new questions arise. In a world where climates and politics shift faster than we can adapt, who truly stands to gain? And perhaps more importantly, how do we navigate this new map without leaving anyone behind? That's the true pivot. How will we answer?